If we act together, we can stabilize our region and protect our sovereignty. If we do not, insecurity will continue to define our future. Regional coordination must be strengthened, with international support reinforcing, not duplicating existing mechanisms on the ground already. So the first point I submit here today is that our regional crisis requires a unified and coherent regional response. ECOWAS remains indispensable in this regard. Despite political tensions and transitions and current strains, our engagement must remain constructive. We may choose alliances, but we cannot choose our geography. Dialogue and cooperation, our strongest tools. We must bridge trust and coordination gaps between ECOWAS, the AES countries, and neighboring states, including Mauritania and Algeria. As chair of ECOWAS, I remain committed to sustained diplomatic engagement. Support from the United Nations, including through the Global Counterterrorism Compact and the ECOWAS counterterrorism strategy, is essential. We must also strengthen existing regional security mechanisms. Multiple initiatives exist, but fragmentation and overlap reduce effectiveness, and that is what is happening. The multinational joint task force, the Accra initiative, the Alliance of Sahel States, and the Nouakchott process must be better aligned. ECOWAS and ECOWAS conflict prevention framework must be fully resourced and operationalized as immediately as possible. Second, intelligence sharing must improve. Interoperability, real-time exchanges, and stronger border management are critical in this endeavor. Terrorist networks that survive through illicit economies in arms, fear, and narcotics. These must be disrupted too. Stronger border controls and custom enforcement are therefore essential. Cooperation with Interpol, Afripol, and the Financial Action Task Force must be intensified. The Rabat framework on border cooperation offers practical lessons and should be supported and replicated. We must also draw our expertise from platforms such as the Global Counterterrorism Forum, particularly in criminal justice, counterterrorism, and prison management. Ladies and gentlemen, peace must be built through legitimacy, inclusion, and opportunity. Sierra Leone speaks from experience, and I speak as a former military general who understands both the demands of command and the limits of force. Military action must be matched by governance reforms, service delivery, and economic recovery. Terrorism thrives where social contract is broken, where poverty is entrenched, and where institutions fail, where citizens lose faith in the state. Rebuilding trust through inclusive development, strong institutions, and the rule of law is our strongest defense against radicalization. Education, especially for girls, and economic opportunities for young people are central to our effort. This requires international solidarity. We must tackle poverty and hunger, strengthen health and education systems, adapt to climate change, and expand social protection. We must work with the private sector to create jobs and sustainable livelihoods for our citizens in the sub-region. Governance must be accountable, inclusive, and anchored in human rights. Fourth is that the United Nations support remains critical. Through the integrated strategy for Sahel and related initiatives, the UN can help strengthen regional cooperation by addressing security and development together in partnership with local communities. I welcome the commitment to implement United Nations Security Council Resolution 2719. Its implementation must align with regional priorities and reinforce existing mechanisms. Regional centers of excellence in Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Mali should be fully utilized in this process. Fifth and final point I submit to the distinguished ladies and gentlemen, to you all, is that climate change is a major threat multiplier. Desertification, drought, food insecurity, and displacement are increasing fragility across our region. West Africa must be prioritized under the United Nations Climate, Peace, and Security Agenda, with climate risk integrated into early warning and security planning. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, ECOWAS has taken important steps, including progress towards activating the standby force. Sierra Leone hosts the ECOWAS Logistics Depot in Lunghe in support of regional peace support and counterterrorism operations. But no regional force can succeed alone. Resolution 2719 offers a pathway to predictable and sustainable United Nations support. It must now be fully implemented. We call on the United Nations Secretariat and the African Union to work closely with ECOWAS to establish mandates, secure funding, and deploy operational assets without further delay. Before we meet again, our regional security mechanisms should be operationalized, funded, and coordinated. This moment calls for each one of us to decide whether regional security remains a declaration or become a shared responsibility we are prepared to finance, operationalize, and defend. This requires each one of us to commit political will, resources, and national assets to a truly collective security effort. We must act together. Sierra Leone, as chair of ECOWAS, reaffirms its commitment to lead with resolve and inclusivity. We will work with all partners to restore peace and stability in our region. I look forward to concrete outcomes from this conference that guides our collective action. West Africa will either secure itself together or be destabilized apart. Fragmentation is no longer an option. Delay is dangerous and is no longer acceptable. Our citizens expect protection, not explanations. To our international partners, this is a moment to match solidarity with sustained action aligned with regional leadership and priorities. The time to act together and decisively is now. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother and Your Excellency, Dr. Julius Madam Bill, for that incisive statement. I'll now give the floor to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Liberia.
This development is a rude awakening and a crude reminder of the realities that confront us and validate the urgency of this high-level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security. Mr. Chairman, please convey our sentiments to our brothers and sisters in Niger on our behalf. Let me thank my brother, President Mahama, for this proactive undertaking and for a splendid hospitality accorded me and my delegation since our arrival yesterday in this beautiful city. I want to state unequivocally that Liberia stands by and fully support this initiative. Liberia as a nation understands the cause associated with violent conflicts. We live in it, we experienced and continue to bear the scars of devastating impact. This is why we are committed to the prevention of conflict of all kinds, nationally, regionally, and internationally. Wars and violent conflicts, once started, have no end, no boundaries, and leave nations wrecked and development stalled. This high-level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security is convening at a critical moment when global disorder and uncertainty threaten our collective existence. Threats of the kinds ranging from terrorism, violent extremism, government deficit, transnational crime, maritime insecurity, climate-driven resource conflict, illicit mining activities, proliferation of arms, human trafficking, illicit financial flows, the drug epidemic, unemployment and social justice, unequal access to social amenities continue to challenge our limited resources. Some states are being threatened by non-state actors who survive by anarchy and lawlessness and account to no one. New security fault lines are shaping threats, especially cyber crimes, which we need to pay attention together. Our citizens travel every day, and borders are increasing and becoming non-existent. We as responsible leaders must respond by embracing the principles of collective security and strengthening regional cooperation and solidarity. This meeting is being held at a time of increasing disruptions in global affairs, from political cooperation to economic integration. We are facing a new era of competition and polarization instead of cooperation. The effect of these disruptions are economic decline, unemployment, insecurity, and poverty. For us in smaller countries, we are deeply concerned about how all of these will affect our economy and our political stability. This is why Liberia continues to stress the relevance of multilateralism, cooperation in addressing our socioeconomic and security challenges. As a non-permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, one of our key priorities is to advocate for the regional approach to peace building and security. This approach will ensure that the epicenter of violent crisis and terrorism will not be the only focus for international response. Drawing in neighboring countries and regional organizations as part of the response will be a more effective way of dealing with the situation at the epicenter, while at the same time dismantling related cells and networks of support from within the region. This meeting, therefore, clearly aligns with both our national security strategy and foreign policy objectives of the government, which emphasizes regional cooperation as a mechanism for resource mobilization and collective actions in addressing common challenges. Excellencies, I would like to thank the intelligence chiefs and ministers of foreign affairs and national security for participating for the detailed assessment of our current security and socioeconomic challenges and the outcome document, which outlines the threats we are faced with, as well as provide policy recommendations to respond to these threats. I therefore reaffirm our government commitment to the mechanism and stand ready to work with other heads of states in implementing the recommendations. The issues identified are not isolated issues. We face them daily, and we sometimes seem to be overwhelmed given the multiplicity of the on the socioeconomic issues of youth unemployment and the rising drug abuse epidemic. We must activate existing regional mechanisms that could facilitate economic growth and job creation for our young people, and facilitate cultural programs and share expertise through technical cooperation and education and training and healthcare. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman, dear friends, these are several truths, and these truths we must confront. One, we are here not by choice. We are here because there is only one option: our collective survival, the survival of our people. Number two, none of us can be peaceful and stable if any of us is insecure and terrorized. Liberia is not safe. Even an inch of Ghana is in terror. Number three, we must act together, otherwise we perish together. Number four, we must act without delay. Emerging advance in technology requires equal investment in our security architecture. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for this initiative again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Joseph Boakai, President of Republic of Liberia. We survive together, we perish together. Thank you. There are some parties who have statements from their heads of state, and so I'm going to open the floor. If you do have, just put up your nameplate, and I'll give you the floor. Yes, I see Nigeria. Okay, Nigeria, you have the floor. I see Togo. If you have a statement, just put up your nameplate. So we'll start with Nigeria.
Your Excellency, Dr. John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and Chair of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State, Your Excellency, Dr. Joseph Boakai, President of the Republic of Liberia, Foreign Ministers, Intelligence Chiefs, Ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the President and the good people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I would like to commend the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for this laudable and timely initiative, strategic foresight, and dedication in convening this high-level meeting to deliberate on security challenges that know no boundaries and affect all of us. In the last 2 days, we have frankly deliberated on the grave security situation confronting West Africa and the Sahel, while seeking to identify paths of least resistance towards fostering a flexible and all-inclusive counterterrorism strategy to address growing insecurity and instability in the region. Nigeria acknowledges the sobering realities of violent extremism in the West Africa Sahel region, underscored by rising violence, the evolving operational sophistication of terrorist groups, as well as the growing nexus between these groups and transnational organized criminal networks who exploit porous borders, weakened regional cooperation, and governance deficits to disrupt our livelihoods. We resonate with concerns that, if left unchecked, the growing activities of terrorist groups in West Africa and the Sahel could imminently tilt the balance of power in the region, particularly with regards to their increasing abilities to destabilize state capitals. Distinguished delegates, we all agree that military responses alone and politicization of our shared security challenges will not solve the problem. As such, we must collectively, at many lateral, bilateral, and multilateral levels, advance efforts towards fostering political and socio-economic inclusivity in our communities, creating wealth for our youthful populations, and building alliances with local and international partners with the ultimate aim of defeating root causes such as poverty, unemployment, and other macroeconomic challenges. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the path forward must be one of solidarity, of continuity, and pragmatism, geared towards re-establishing a robust and all-inclusive counterterrorism framework that reflects our shared security and economic interests. In this regard, we are in full support of the initiative to host similar high-level engagements across the region on a frequent basis, a tradition we believe would reflect our shared burden and collective commitment towards re-establishing multilateralism and trust among governments in the region. Whilst assuring you of Nigeria's firm commitment towards transforming outcomes from this meeting into implementation agreements within the framework of the communique, we stand ready to work with our stakeholders within and beyond the sub-region in transforming the recommendations from this forum into actionable policies, programs, and projects that will decisively tackle terrorism and restore stability. More importantly, Nigeria aligns itself with Ghana's imperative that international partners fully respect African priorities and ownership of Africa-led security initiatives, and to ensure that external support complements rather than substitutes regional and continental mechanisms for peace building. In conclusion, Nigeria believes this platform must serve as a unifying force, bringing together governments, institutions, and communities to confront insecurity with resolve and solidarity. Together, we can safeguard our region and secure a future of peace and prosperity for our people. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Nigeria Foreign Minister. Thank you. I give the floor to Togo.
Merci, Excellence. Excellence, Monsieur John Dramani Mahama, Président de la République du Ghana. Excellence, Dr Julius Madabio, Président de la République de Sierra Leone, Président en exercice de la Conférence des chefs d'État et du gouvernement de la CEDEAO. Excellence, Joseph Numa Boakai, Président de la République du Liberia. Mesdames et Messieurs les ministres et chers collègues, Excellence, Monsieur l'ambassadeur Bankole Adeole, commissaire aux affaires politiques, à la paix et à la sécurité de l'Union africaine. Excellence, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, je voudrais avant toute chose excuser le président Faure qui aurait bien voulu être avec vous ce matin, mais qui est retenu avec notre agenda à l'extérieur du pays. Au nom de son Excellence, Monsieur Faure-Soghina Gnassingbé, président du Conseil, je souhaite tout d'abord exprimer notre profonde gratitude à son Excellence John Dramani Mahama, président de la République du Ghana, et aux populations ghanéennes pour l'accueil chaleureux réservé à la délégation togolaise et surtout pour les facilités offertes pour la réussite de cette rencontre. Cette hospitalité toujours renouvelée témoigne de la solidarité et de l'esprit de coopération et d'intégration du peuple frère du Ghana et de ses dirigeants. Je voudrais également transmettre les chaleureuses félicitations du président du Conseil à son frère et ami, président de la République du Ghana, pour cette initiative très louable de nous réunir aujourd'hui au cours de cette conférence de haut niveau qui permet aux dirigeants de nos pays de reprendre les échanges sur l'épineuse question de la coopération sécuritaire régionale. Cette rencontre illustre le fort engagement des autorités ghanéennes en faveur du dialogue stratégique et de la consolidation de la paix et de la sécurité dans notre sous-région. Excellences, Messieurs les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, Mesdames et Messieurs, les conclusions des travaux des ministres mettent en évidence la gravité des menaces qui pèsent actuellement sur notre sous-région, et parmi lesquelles le terrorisme, l'extrémisme violent restent prioritaires. Ces menaces circulent librement dans nos zones frontalières communes, exploitant les vulnérabilités, notamment les lacunes dans la coordination de nos dispositifs nationaux et de nos réponses collectives. Face à cette situation, notre pays, le Togo, demeure convaincu que la lutte contre ces fléaux doit être d'abord une lutte globale et multidimensionnelle, comprenant des actions militaires bilatérales, trilatérales, multilatérales et surtout des actions coordonnées et continues dans nos zones frontalières pour neutraliser les groupes armés et sécuriser nos populations. Un partage rigoureux du renseignement, une planification conjointe et des règles d'engagement claires garantissant efficacité et respect de la souveraineté. Des mesures de prévention contre la radicalisation, la protection des communautés vulnérables et le renforcement de la résilience sociale. Des investissements ciblés dans le développement humain, en particulier dans les zones frontalières fragiles, afin de traiter les causes profondes de l'extrémisme violent. Nos pays disposent aujourd'hui de plusieurs cadres régionaux de coopération et de plusieurs mécanismes bilatéraux et multilatéraux. Mais leur efficacité dépend de la cohérence, de la complémentarité et du respect des engagements de chacun. Le Togo reste convaincu que la valorisation des expériences acquises dans nos différents échanges et dans les cadres qui existent déjà, nous sommes convaincus que si nous capitalisons sur les bonnes pratiques qui sont les nôtres, en renforçant nos capacités, notre capacité collective et surtout la culture de la coopération régionale. Le Togo réaffirme sa pleine disponibilité à s'engager activement dans des actions communes, pragmatiques et surtout dépolitisées pour assurer une sécurité régionale forte et durable. Merci pour votre attention.
Thank you very much. That was the National Security Minister of Togo. I'll now give the floor to the Minister of Defense of Mauritania.
Merci, Monsieur le Président. Excellence, Monsieur le Président John Dramani Mahama, Président de la République sœur du Ghana, Son Excellence Brigadier Général Dr Julius Madabio, Président de la République du Sierra Leone, Président de Son Excellence Joseph Nyuma Boakai, Président de la République du Liberia, Messieurs les ministres, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs. Je vous transmets d'abord les salutations de Son Excellence, Monsieur le Président Mohamed Cheikh Ghazouani, qui, pour des raisons d'agenda intérieur, programmé depuis un certain temps, n'a pu répondre à cette invitation. Il aurait bien aimé être là, échanger avec ses pairs sur des questions essentielles qui traitent à la coopération et à la sécurité régionale, surtout que notre sous-région vit des problèmes extrêmement importants pour lesquels toute action individuelle isolée ne peut donner les résultats escomptés. Le travail collectif, la sécurité collective est aujourd'hui une exigence du moment. Et la Mauritanie souscrit à toute activité, toute initiative de nature à renforcer cette coopération et cette coordination dans les efforts de lutte contre le terrorisme, l'extrémisme violent et tous les corollaires de ces deux phénomènes et fléaux que connaît aujourd'hui notre sous-région. La sécurité, aujourd'hui, aucun pays tout seul, à lui seul, ne peut assurer sa sécurité. La sécurité aujourd'hui, elle est devenue collective et toute action donc individuelle, dis-je tout à l'heure, sera vouée tout simplement à l'échec. Ce sera mon mot de conclusion. Je vous remercie, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much for the brief statement, Defense Minister of Mauritania. I'll give the floor now to Dr. Mamadou Tangara, Special Representative of the African Union for the Sahel region.
Your Excellency, Dr. John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana, Your Excellency, Dr. Julius Malabio, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and Chairman of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States, Your Excellency Joseph Boakai, President of Liberia, Commissioner Bankole, Honorable Ministers here present, Heads of Delegation, Heads of Intelligence Services, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor for me to deliver this statement. But first and foremost, I extend my deepest gratitude to the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, for convening this important gathering and for the warm hospitality extended to all of us here in Accra. We are gathered at a time when sustainable peace and development on our continent face persistent and complex menaces. This requires innovative, inclusive, and African-led solutions. This imperative is more pressing in light of the consensus that our global order and agreed upon norms are undergoing a seismic rupture. The partnerships we have built with external actors are becoming more unpredictable as institutional actors and our bilateral external partners recalibrate their modus operandi. Therefore, in responding to this reality, we must continue to reinforce the African Union's agency in delivering sustainable African-led solutions to our diverse challenges. The African Union has long recognized the importance of regional cooperation in addressing security threats, particularly through the common understanding and implementation of our agreed upon collaborative principles. Your Excellency, I have the honor to inform you that I was received yesterday by the President, very in front of us, a man that is determined, but that is open also. And I'm happy to hear from all the statesmen that there is a need to have a new framework of cooperation because AES is a reality. And we need to see how best we can sit together and discuss with the de facto leaders that are today running this country. And I think Ghana can play a key role in that. We have started discussion with your foreign minister and the foreign minister of Sierra Leone to see how best, and the foreign minister of Nigeria, of course, to chart the way forward for a fruitful dialogue. As our security landscape evolves, so must our strategies. We are all aware that the security context in regions such as the Sahel is marked by the rise of violent and sophisticated non-violent state actors. Our responses should not only be on deploying kinetic actions, but also on effective governance and socially inclusive programs. The Accra process of the African Union has, since its inception, developed innovative solutions in this regard. All these actions require the effective implementation of the African Union strategy for the Sahel as a compass. The outcome of this conference must also include a clear path for concerted support to the full implementation of this strategic document. Your Excellencies, we must take into account that the AES is an existing variable in our sustainable security considerations in the Sahel and represents countries that are central to pursuing this goal. We must engage with all relevant actors in accordance with the appropriate political and legal requirements of our intergovernmental institutions to find common solutions. Therefore, this conference provides a timely opportunity to reflect on our progress, identify gaps, and chart a way forward looking far to strengthen our resilience-building efforts. As we deliberate on the recommendation from the ministers, I urge this esteemed gathering to prioritize the following: enhance coordination. We must ensure that the objectives of our regional and continental mechanisms are aligned and mutually reinforcing. Fragmentation weakens our ability to respond effectively to threats. In my role as a special representative of the chairperson of the African Union Commission in the Sahel, I'm committed to fostering coherence within the APSA and other frameworks and cooperation with governments. Capacity building, investing in the technical, operational, and institutional capacities of our member states is essential to address our security and development challenges. Strengthening these capacities will enable us to respond more effectively to menace and build a foundation for a long-term stability. Inclusive approaches, civil society, local communities, grassroots organizations, the private sector, and research institutions must be integral partners in our efforts to build sustainable peace. We must actively engage these stakeholders in decision-making processes to ensure that our strategies addresses the needs and concerns of all sectors of society. Addressing root causes. While we tackle immediate menaces, we must not lose sight of the underlying drivers of insecurity, including poverty, inequality, and governance deficits. Economic development must be at the heart of our strategies. promoting regional economic cooperation, and foster resilience against insecurity. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you and I look forward to fruitful deliberation and actionable outcomes from this summit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, representative of the AU for the Sahel. I'll now give the floor to Ambassador Bankole Adioye, Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security of the African Union.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I bring warm and fraternal greetings from Addis Ababa as I represent here the chairperson of the African Union Commission, His Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf. Excellencies, the African Union is most pleased to convey the following key policy messages. First, we express full support and commitment to this initiative on regional cooperation and security. The threats we face today are both new, pervasive, and insidious. The challenges of cybersecurity, the perpetration of the ideology of hate, terrorism, violent extremism, food insecurity, and indeed the impact of climate change compel us in a form of a compelling agenda to unite and collectively address these threats for the sake of regional security, regional deterrence, so that both regional cooperation can remain effective in form and substance. Excellencies, second message from the chairperson of the Commission. The African Union is proud to note that this regional security initiative is deeply rooted in the efficacy of Pan-Africanism, African unity, and solidarity. As a special representative of the chairperson of the African Commission stated, based in Sahel, stated, we need to continue to work in harmony with the Pan-African initiatives based on African peace and security architecture and the African governance architecture. It is necessary to also emphasize, Excellencies, that the outcomes of the Malabo Extraordinary Summit of May 2022 on countering terrorism remain very germane. The third message we would like to present, Excellency, is that the African Union underscores the urgent need for a whole of society, a whole of region approach to promote sustainable security. We must confront headlong the insecurity that we face across our 5 regions, and particularly in this case, West Africa. We underscore the need equally to continue to promote the African Union Continental Early Warning System. Excellencies, a youth-centered security solution would be ideal for Africa in this stage. The upcoming African Union Summit in Addis Ababa provides another opportunity for the leadership of our continent to consider the best forms and pathway to solid and effective regional and continental cooperation. In conclusion, we express profound gratitude to Your Excellency, President John Dramani Mahama, and the heads of state here present for the opportunity to engage on promoting regional security in a most effective manner. We also appreciate the chiefs of intelligence, the Ghanaian ministers of foreign affairs and interior for their leadership in becoming architects of this regional cooperation and security. I thank you, Excellency, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ambassador Bankole Adioye. I'll now give the floor to the African Union High Representative for Silencing the Guns, Dr. Mohammed Ibn Chambers.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Your Excellency John Dramani Mahama, President of the Republic of Ghana. Your Excellency Julius Maada Bio, Chairman of ECOWAS, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. Your Excellency Joseph Boakai, President of the Republic of Liberia, Honorable Ministers, the AU Commissioner, Peace and Security, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Following more than a decade of sustained and deepening crisis in the Sahel and several failed initiatives, terrorism and violent extremism continue to be a threat to the security of the region and to the peace and prosperity of its peoples. The causal ingredients of insecurity in the Sahel can be attributed to a complex interplay of factors including Tuareg rebellion, Libyan crisis, Boko Haram, their destructive, violent extremist attacks. The Sahel and West Africa region's insecurity highlights the importance of regional cooperation. The nature of the challenges are cross-border and transnational. They require regional cooperation and initiatives, hence the importance of today's summit. Mr. President, we thank you and we acknowledge your commitment in this regard. Regional cooperation is required to address shared security challenges through intelligence sharing and collaboration with continental and sub-regional partners. Partnerships with neighboring countries through bilateral agreements should be fostered, as this could ensure cross-border protection and joint military operations to address common security threats. There is therefore the need for integrated, coordinated international and regional efforts that prioritize human security and political dialogue. Regional initiatives aimed at addressing insecurity in the Sahel and West Africa should be supported by contributing financially to these regional bodies. Countries should also provide support for regional security operations and capacity building programs for regional security forces. Regional and sub-regional organizations should ensure citizens' participation in decision-making and encourage through inclusive governance and community engagement to address grievances and build trust and strengthen institutions to ensure accountability and transparencies. The protocols and extant legal text of the AU and ECOWAS and other sub-regional mechanisms are exhaustive regarding the instruments for coordination of their efforts in the areas of peace and security. For instance, the African Peace and Security Architecture, the AU, counterterrorism strategy, And the ECOWAS mechanism and ECOWAS counterterrorism frameworks provide adequately for responses to security challenges. The African Standby Force and the sub-regional components in West Africa and the Sahel, the ECOWAS can as well be deployed. The challenge always being sustainable funding and resources for these instruments. Recent events in the Sahel leading to the exit of Sahel states from ECOWAS have posed daunting challenges, but the existential threat of terrorist groups to the Sahel and West Africa oblige the countries of the sub-region to find accommodation to foster collaboration in the fight against this common threat of terrorism and violent extremism. This calls for the continued patient diplomacy and strategic perspectives with Pan-African endogenous efforts leading the way. West Africa already has a number of sub-regional organizations and mechanisms. They overlap, but sometimes reinforce each other too. Existence of the AES need not be seen as exclusive to membership of the common West African community. Hopefully, this will become evident in due course. We must reinforce our security architecture. Our regional mechanisms like the AU's Peace and Security Council are critical, but they must be agile, well-funded, and intelligence-driven. We must invest in preventive deployment and early warning systems that can detect and diffuse crises before they explode. In this regard, there is the need for enhanced intelligence sharing through regular meetings of defense and security services, such as has been held the last few days here in Accra. Africa and sub-regional security and intelligence mechanisms, such as the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services for Africa, CISA, the African Center for the Study and Research on Terrorism, the Intergovernmental Action Group Against Money Laundering in West Africa here, that is GIABA, Nigeria's National Counterterrorism Center. These should all hold regular meetings to share timely intelligence and counterterrorism action plans. I conclude by going back to the issue of resourcing our continental and regional and sub-regional organizations, because it should be said that any strategy without funding is dead on arrival. And I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dr. Chambers. I'll now proceed to read my address, and then after that we would go into the closed session to deliberate on the outcome documents, after which we'll return here and do the closing ceremony. And so if you permit me, I will read my statement. Your Excellency, Brigadier Julius Madabiu, President of the Republic of Sierra Leone and Chair of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government, Your Excellency Joseph Numa Boakai, Senior President of the Republic of Liberia, Ministers of State from member countries present and senior government officials, ambassadors and high commissioners present, representatives of the AU and other multilateral organizations, intelligence chiefs and key stakeholders in defense architecture of member nations, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure and a deep sense of responsibility that I welcome you to Accra for this consultative conference. Your presence here today is a powerful affirmation of our shared conviction that even in times of uncertainty, leadership must be anchored in dialogue, solidarity, and an unwavering commitment to the well-being of our peoples. I also extend to you my warm wishes for a peaceful and prosperous New Year. This conference comes at a defining moment for our sub-region. It offers us the opportunity not only to reflect, but also to renew our collective resolve to act together decisively and in solidarity with each other. The Accra Initiative was established in 2017 as a regional framework for cooperation in the fight against the spread of terrorism and violent extremism. Initial sponsors of the Accra Initiative were Benin, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Ghana, and Togo, with Niger and Mali joining along the road region. Yesterday's violent attack in Niger reminds us of the existential threat we all face from these terrorists and violent extremists. And on all your behalfs, I wish to express our solidarity with the government and people of Niger. Today's conference is the first step for achieving a consensus on how we move forward as brothers to confront a danger to our common home. Not all our brother nations are here at this first consultative summit, but it is my hope that in reaching this consensus, we'll be able to draw the cooperation and support of all nations that exist within this sub-region. When I assumed office as President of the Republic of Ghana in January 2025, I spoke of renewal as both a necessity and a duty. I emphasized the need to confront our realities honestly, restore confidence in public institutions, and rebuild inclusive, resilient, and forward-looking societies. Those principles were articulated in a national context, but they were never intended to stop at Ghana's national borders. They speak directly to our sub-region because the destinies of our states are inseparably linked by our geography, our history, culture, and our shared human experience. In our region, progress in one country strengthens the collective, while instability or insecurity in another part reverberates across our borders. It is therefore neither realistic nor sustainable for any state to pursue peace, security, or prosperity in isolation. This reality places upon us a shared responsibility to address our challenges not as isolated national concerns, but as common obligations requiring our collective action and mutual accountability. Our sub-region is far more than a collection of neighboring sovereign nations. It is a deeply interconnected community shaped by centuries of shared histories, trade, migration, and cultural exchange. Long before these modern political boundaries came into existence, our people interacted freely, building networks of commerce, kinship, and cooperation that continue to define our societies even till today. Those enduring connections have made collaboration not only desirable, but indispensable. The movement of people, goods, and services across our borders sustains millions of livelihoods in all our countries. Transport corridors connect landlocked economies to the ports and global markets. Cross-border trade and border markets support food security and employment, and also incomes for communities on both sides of our national boundaries. Our shared rivers, our river basins, our forests, and ecological zones demand collective stewardship. At the same time, this interdependence means that threats do not respect borders. When insecurity takes root in one country, its effects can convulse the entire region. When trust between states is weakened, our collective capacity to respond effectively is diminished, and it is our citizens who bear the cost. Your Excellencies, our sub-region today faces a convergence of security, economic, social, and environmental pressures. Violent extremism, terrorism, transnational organized crime, unconstitutional changes of government, youth unemployment, climate-induced vulnerabilities interact in ways that strain national institutions and test our regional solidarity. These are increasingly fluid, asymmetric, and interconnected. They challenge traditional state-centric responses and demand a shift towards a more integrated understanding of human security, preventive diplomacy, and collective resilience, principles that are firmly embedded in the ECOWAS security architecture. Systems designed for an earlier era must now confront threats that are faster moving, cross-border, and deeply rooted in socioeconomic conditions. Without effective coordination and sustained political commitment, even well-intentioned responses struggle to deliver lasting results. The history of cooperation in our sub-region offers valuable lessons. Through ECOWAS and other arrangements, we have built platforms for dialogue, early warning systems, mediation, peacekeeping, and collective action. At critical moments, these mechanisms have helped prevent conflict, restore constitutional order, and stabilize fragile situations. These experiences confirm a central truth. Regional solidarity works when it is underpinned by trust, consistency, and political will. At the same time, we must be candid. Our collective efforts have not always achieved the outcomes that we desired. Coordination gaps, overlapping mandates, limited follow-through, and uneven national ownership have sometimes weakened the impact of these efforts. The lesson is clear. Existing frameworks remain essential, but they must be strengthened, better coordinated, and adapted to today's realities. It is in recognition of this reality that this high-level consultative conference has been convened. Our objective is not to replace existing ECOWAS mechanisms, but to reinforce and complement them by improving coherence, strengthening coordination, enhancing effectiveness across security, expressing solidarity, development, and resilience. We aim to lay the foundations for a renewed framework that respects national sovereignty while reinforcing collective responsibility, that prioritizes preventive diplomacy and early action, that integrates security responses with development and governance, and that places the well-being of our people at the center of policy. This approach is fully aligned with the visions of our multilateral partners in ECOWAS and the African Union of a people-centered, rules-based, and secure Africa. Your Excellencies, peace and security cannot be sustained by force alone. In its broader sense, development is the cornerstone of lasting stability. When young people have access to quality education, relevant skills, and decent employment, they are less vulnerable to recruitment by extremist or criminal networks. When communities experience inclusive growth and responsive governance, social cohesion is strengthened and trust in institutions is restored. Investments in infrastructure, healthcare, agriculture, energy, and regional connectivity reduce the vulnerability of our nations and expand opportunity. Economic integration and trade facilitation reinforce resilience of our economies. This integrated approach, linking security, development, governance, and social cohesion, is central to regional security thinking, and it is reflected in the outcome document that we shall be considering soon. The outcome document we are considering deliberately brings together 1, preventive approaches to peace and security, 2, sustaining economic integration, 3, establishing social resilience, and 4, institutional coordination. It recognizes that these are not competing priorities, but these are mutually reinforcing pillars of a comprehensive strategy for stability and shared prosperity. Our citizens will judge our success not by the strength of our declarations, but by the tangible improvements they experience in their daily lives. This places upon us a responsibility to ensure effective implementation, measurable outcomes, and sustained follow-through. Distinguished colleagues, we must take full ownership of our policy direction and our strategic choices, while ensuring that national institutions remain the primary engines of implementation. Regional frameworks must support, not replace, national responsibility. This consultative conference therefore adopts a pragmatic, outcome-driven approach focused on shared priorities, early wins, and confidence building through visible progress. Though through sustained engagement grounded in mutual respect and a shared purpose, we can rebuild trust amongst ourselves. We can strengthen regional solidarity and reaffirm our collective commitment to peace, security, and constitutional order. Your Excellencies, as I conclude, we stand at a critical crossroads. By choosing unity over fragmentation, cooperation over isolation, and preventive action over reaction, we demonstrate to our citizens that leadership is defined by courage, foresight, and solidarity. May this conference be remembered as the first step and a turning point, one that reaffirmed our collective resolve to act together and to shape a future that is defined by stability, resilience, and shared prosperity. I thank you for your leadership, constructive engagement, and steadfast partnership. I wish to thank all of you for attending, and on this note, I wish to declare this consultative conference officially open. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We will now recede into the closed session, and the organizers will guide you as to what we should do next. Like I said, we're going to consider the outcome document, and once we have done that, we'll come back into this hall to officially read the document, go through it, and